Most people think the World Cup is only about the games, but Seattle is using it to finally push through $45 million in upgrades the city already needed. In this video, I'm breaking down what actually stays after June 2026 and which Seattle neighborhoods will receive the biggest benefits from these changes. Let's get into it. Here's what's coming to Seattle. 6 matches in 3 weeks, and it'll bring almost as many people as currently live in Seattle itself, and that's just the beginning of what's changing. All right, so let's start with the basics. Seattle is hosting 6 FIFA World Cup matches at Lumen Field between June 15th and July 6th, 2026. That's 4 group stage matches and 2 knockout round matches. The confirmed games include Belgium versus Egypt on June 15th, the USA versus Australia on June 19th, so it's going to be absolutely electric. Then you've got a European playoff winner versus Qatar on June 24th, and Egypt versus Iran on June 26th. After that, the round of 32 on July 1st and the round of 16 on July 6th. Here is the scale that we're talking about. The local organizing committee estimates up to 750,000 fans in the region across that 3-week tournament window. And wait until you see what's happening to the stadium itself. The permanent changes are going to shock anyone who has been to a Seahawks game before. I mean, that's nearly the entire population of Seattle showing up for soccer over just 3 weeks. Cities fight hard for hosting rights to these matches, right? Because it's not only about the games, it's about using the event to force upgrades cities already need but haven't done yet. The World Cup is just the deadline and the thing that makes people actually act. And so for anyone thinking about Seattle's future, these upgrades can create ripple effects that last for decades. So listen up, if you're thinking about moving to Seattle or you're already here and trying to figure out which neighborhoods are gonna benefit the most from the World Cup infrastructure, I work with people who are dealing with Seattle's market every day, so shoot me a message. My contact info is in the description below. All right, now let's get into the money, because that's where you can see how serious Seattle is about this. Washington's capital budget includes about $19.4 million for Lumen Field upgrades tied to the World Cup requirements, approved and signed by the governor. FIFA has really specific standards for hosting World Cup matches. You can't just show up with what you already have and say, yep, we're ready. You've got to meet the requirements, and some of those rules force permanent changes. So here is what is changing. The stadium will temporarily replace its artificial turf, over 100,000 square feet of it, with stitched natural grass. They're putting in new irrigation, vacuum ventilation, and grow light systems. All of this gets installed after the 2025 NFL season ends, and it gets removed after the tournament ends. So yeah, that grass is temporary because the Seahawks and Sounders normally play on turf. But here's the thing, the systems that support the grass, like irrigation and ventilation, those stay. So if Seattle ever wants to bring natural grass back for future events, the main setup is already there, and that's pretty smart when you think about it. Now here's what's permanent, and this is huge for fans. Bleacher style sections in the Hawk's Nest will be changed into individual seats with backs, so every seat in the stadium has a backrest. That's a permanent change that matches FIFA's seating rules. And after the World Cup leaves, every Seahawks fan, every Sounders fan, every person at any event in Lumen Field gets a seat with a backrest forever. Better comfort, better experience. That upgrade probably wouldn't happen without the World Cup pushing for it. We've also got security and media upgrades. Corner seating will be reduced or changed to create more media space because you're gonna have international press from everywhere covering these matches. The venue is adding new turnstiles, bollards, lighting, and cameras to meet higher security and access control requirements. All of that security stuff is permanent, so Lumen Field becomes more secure, more ready to handle huge international events long term. The World Cup forces the upgrades, but Seattle gets the benefit for decades. Now, we all know the stadium is obviously a big deal, but you can't host a World Cup with just one venue. Teams need places to train. So let's talk about the practice fields and the training sites. FIFA level fields are being built at UW and Seattle U, and they're staying long after the teams leave. Teams need places to train, right? You can't just have World Cup teams show up and practice at random parks. FIFA has rules for these training facilities too. So World Cup teams can train there for a few weeks in June and July, then they leave, but UW and Seattle U get those FIFA level fields for good. What a massive upgrade for these college programs. You get better recruiting, better training, a higher level of competition. These investments help the neighborhoods near the universities and create sports infrastructure that lasts way longer than 3 weeks of matches. And let me tell you something else, the stadium upgrades and training fields are only the easy to see parts. The real hard part is what's happening behind the scenes. Let's talk about the city operations, safety, and transit. Running Seattle during the World Cup takes coordination most people never see, with 27 different work groups planning every detail for the last 3 years. Let's talk about what we see behind the scenes that most people don't even think about. Because hosting a World Cup isn't only about game day, it's about running a city under global pressure for 3 straight weeks. Seattle's official World Cup page lists this huge cross-departmental preparation effort. Seattle IT, SDOT, the police department, fire, Office of Emergency Management, and Seattle Parks and Recs. All of these departments are coordinating on safety, security, and event operations. Because you've got to think about traffic control, transit service, security staffing, and emergency response all at the same time. Mutual aid police staffing is expected from all agencies across Washington, so it is totally a statewide effort, not Seattle doing everything itself. This is a statewide World Cup 2026 Transportation Demands and Impacts project. Planning document, it's a big one. It highlights responsibilities for traffic control, transit service, incident management. They're the lead local planners outside the stadium footprint. I mean, just think about it, right? Seattle ranks already among the worst US cities for traffic congestion. Drivers lose 68 hours to traffic in 2025. Just imagine adding 750,000 people over 3 weeks. That is a huge logistical challenge. You need special transit service, traffic management, and planning between multiple agencies. Our former Seattle Police Chief, John Diaz, is serving as the Chief of Security. He told Como News that this event needs all the resources they can bring in. The federal government gave the 2026 FIFA World Cup a special event assessment rating of 2, which Diaz describes as extremely high. For comparison, the Super Bowl is 1. So we've got 27 work groups in the state working on different pieces like transportation, intelligence, training, exercises. That's 3 years of planning for just 3 weeks of events. And that knowledge doesn't just vanish after the World Cup. Seattle learns how to operate at the scale in a real way. And that's exactly why the fan experience had to be more than what happens inside the stadium. It brings us what might be the coolest part of the whole thing. The World Cup isn't just happening inside Lumen Field, it is taking over the entire city. We have a Seattle fan celebration area planned at Seattle Center as a main official fan zone, designed to hold about 20,000 people at any given time. Just picture it, 40 to 60 foot tall screens playing World Cup matches, games, activities, family stuff, food and drinks, live entertainment. It's gonna be a wild scene. The fan celebration is planned as a free multi-week community event within an opportunity zone showing small and Washington-owned businesses. The organizing committee is actively recruiting production partners for the 24-day activation. So this is free programming for 24 days. You don't need to buy a ticket, and they're very expensive, mind you, to Lumen Field to experience the World Cup in Seattle. Just go to Seattle Center, watch the matches on giant screens, do activities, check out local businesses. The whole city becomes part of the celebration. And that's what I really, really like. The opportunity zone for small and BIPOC open businesses means local entrepreneurs get a chance to show what they do to hundreds of thousands of people. That spreads economic opportunity into the community, not just around the stadium. Plus, Seattle announced partnerships with 9 locations across Washington to host the different matches at official fan zones. We've got fan zones in Bellingham, Bremerton, Everett, Olympia, Spokane, Tacoma, the Tri-Cities, Vancouver, even Yakima. The whole state gets to participate. The energy is going to go way beyond Seattle, turning it into a statewide celebration. So at this point, you're probably thinking, all right, sounds awesome. What actually stays after it's over? Well, let me break down what matters long term. Beyond the stadium, the World Cup is driving investments in security, tech, practice facilities, crowd management operations, and big fan programming that stacks on top of Seattle's bigger 2020s infrastructure push. What does that mean? Seattle's already been investing in infrastructure, transit and expansion, urban development. The World Cup has just sped it up. It creates deadlines, forces coordination, and brings in funding that could have taken years to secure otherwise. Most cities wait years to start these projects. Seattle's making them happen now because the deadline is real. If you're thinking about how these World Cup infrastructure changes affect specific Seattle neighborhoods or property values along transit corridors, shoot me an email at hello@mwagnerteam.com. I'll walk you through what I'm seeing with my clients right now. All of my contact info is in the description. I've got a video linked right here breaking down which Seattle neighborhoods first-time buyers should actually choose, covering everything from the Central District to Madison Park's waterfront lifestyle. The rapid fire comparison at the end, where we call it the best views, quietest neighborhoods, fastest appreciation. It's worth the watch by itself. All right, that's it for today. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you on the next video.